Welcome back to Odd Ones, and today's episode, the audio is going to sound like crap, and I'm really sorry about that. Our device over there that records our microphones just pretty much took a crap on us. I'm hoping that it works now, but this episode was a lot of fun, and it had some really important messages, so I needed to use audio, and unfortunately it's from our cameras, so it doesn't sound the best, but I played around with it and made it sound as good as possible. So stick around, listen to the episode. It's a lot of fun. Really had a lot of fun recording this one with Lara. It did not stay on topic at all. We were supposed to be talking about the 5 love languages, and we went way off topic. So I hope you enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And let's jump into that one. And welcome back to Odd Ones. I'm Bjorn, and this is my lovely wife, Lara. Also, alternate ego, Sarah.
I don't know why I nodded so.
Yes, is my alternate ego. Yes, indeed.
Yes, we agree.
This is episode 4. Welcome.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I hope you enjoyed the other episodes because they were fun to make.
Was it 0, 1, 2, 3?
There's a 0, but this is officially number 4.
Like 4 sequentially, or the fourth one?
We have 0.5 and then 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is technically, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Welcome back. Or welcome if it's your first time watching us. I feel like I have to do that. Anyway.
Right. So this is episode 4. The last time we spoke, we were talking about, what was it? Date night and love obsession.
Yep.
And we also have a winner for our book. Go ahead, Lara. Take that away.
Well, before we get into that, we got to make sure that if you guys like seeing our faces, bare minimum, hit that subscribe button. And if you've watched the content, but you haven't subscribed already, do that. So now we can talk about it. If you had not watched, again, go check that out. But we announced that we are working on the 5 love languages. The series is what we call it, right? Okay. So we asked everybody, if you are interested in the content that we're talking about and you want a copy of the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, be sure you hit send an email to us. And we got an email, the first email, and that is going to go out to Francesca McNett 220. So congratulations, you'll be getting that, and we're going to sign it because I don't know why you said this. You said you wanted to work with your signature.
Yeah.
Like, I like your signature.
Yeah, but that's for my old name. So if y'all don't know,
that's a good point.
I haven't legally, but I want to legally change my name to Bjorn. My
birth given.
Yeah, my birth giver name is freaking I know what you were gonna say there.
Go ahead.
Is Dylan, and I just, over the 6 years that Lara and I have been together, I feel like I've done enough evolving that now Dylan is too.
This is his.
I mean, like what's the name? Carlin, the George Carlin. He was like,
wow, how famous do you have to be when all you said was Carlin, and that's like. Was it the Carlins is a baseball team, right? It's a fish, right?
That's Marlins.
Oh.
Yeah. It's all right, Lara. It's okay.
We were just talking about intelligence.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
So yeah, he was talking about names for sissies, and Dylan is one of them. So
is that really what like impacted you? Did that?
That really did bother me back then. I was like, oh, geez, okay.
How old were you?
I don't know. That's probably.
I actually thought
I was a teenager.
I thought that Dylan was a really masculine name. Like, I loved your name.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't.
You can't have a masculine name whenever it has a, you can also be named Dylan as a girl.
I literally never thought about that. Like, but I think it didn't matter what name. That's not true. You embodied like the masculine Dylan. And I think I like telling the story, and it's not my story to tell. And I always say that, almost always, that when you came to me and you were like, I'm going to change my name. And that was so hard, but we both had the same name in mind, like, or thought about that. But you really did. I think when people find it weird, like, oh, I chose my name, why? Like, we change our hair color, we change our outfits, change our underwear.
I mean, a lot of people, their whole existence is based off their name. Why wouldn't you want to change it to something that you actually like? I've never liked my name. I remember whenever I was a kid playing Jack and Daxter, so whatever year that came out, Jack 2, I wanted to name myself Jack, and I was like looking into how to do that, but the internet wasn't a thing, so I really wasn't looking into much of anything because I was dumb.
It took me so long. The hardest part for me is ebbing and flowing between Dylan and Bjorn, because if you are in the, this is going to sound exclusive or inclusive or whatever, but anybody who knows me well, I feel like I have to explain, because I will say Bjorn, and my grandma, bless her heart, does not remember things. So I'll be like, oh, Bjorn, whatever. And I'm wondering, like, does she think I'm cheating on my husband? Or like, who's this second person? And
Yeah.
the other day I said Bjorn. She said, who? I said, Dylan. I've explained it to her, right?
Yeah.
But most people who I know I'm going to talk to on a frequent basis, or who are, especially who are close to our life, I'll give the story. Like, Bjorn is Dylan, Dylan is Bjorn. That's, he goes by both. But anyway, now the rest of the world knows the story.
Yep.
And I think really that was symbolic.
Yep.
And I feel like you deserve that.
It's like a death and rebirth.
Weird. Yeah, like a
Yep.
phoenix, but not.
Yep.
And
it means bear.
That's true.
Yep.
Anyway, you can maul me anytime.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. That's that spicy content. As I think about
It's
the
PG-13,
person,
that's okay.
okay, the person that I met and the person you are, like, there is the core of who you are, right? And that is
Holding it like
the
a baby.
end, right? I am. Well, it's a core. I won't do hand motions. The core of who you are, because that gets me in trouble every time.
Yeah.
But the meat and potatoes, and then sometimes you put like green onion on it. Sometimes it's sour cream. Sometimes it's sriracha, right? But the core of who you are hasn't changed.
Mhm.
But when you and I met, you know, Mr. Mom is immediately what pops into my mind, and like, what stands out to me so much is you were like, yeah, you know, I do the cleaning and whatever. Not today. You will not do the cleaning anymore. Like, I want to take that from you.
I do if you're sick.
Yes, but I don't, and I feel bad, and we don't clean the same way, and that's okay. But I did not want you to ever clean like that.
Yeah.
Again, not that I don't want you to clean, but I remember when we first started dating, speaking of cleaning, you cleaned the toilet every day. And I love that. And I don't think collectively, since we've been, like, I've come into that role, that you've had to do that or thought about it.
I haven't as much. I have.
You haven't?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, and he rode a sheep. So
Oh my
that's
gosh.
going to be my go-to. But who you are and the person I fell in love with is still there. But you had some tools, and you, like, I remember you wearing shirts like that, but this shirt seems to be different than those. You're just such a different person. And when you came to that, and I just feel like I watched you transform into a beautiful butterfly. And
you hear that, guys? You call me beautiful.
I did. You are beautiful, inside and out. But I feel like everybody should be able to rename themselves. I don't know why it's so outlandish. Like,
I feel
some
like
people are so confused.
It should be, and this is something that we are way off topic, by the way. We're not even talking about the 5 love languages.
It's important,
but
though.
yeah, it gives some context and backstory.
We're only 8 minutes deep.
Yeah. What is it called? Like a rite of passage. People in America don't have a rite of passage. You know, we have our 18th birthday and we have like milestones, but there's
Car
no
insurance.
Yeah.
You can buy cigarettes now.
Yep. And that's
I said it that way.
like the quote unquote rite of passage is like, go get my mom whenever I turn 18, she was like, go get me a pack of cigarettes. And I was like, I don't want to support that. Or go get me a lottery ticket. I'm like, I don't like lottery.
I love that she sent you to get her one and not get yourself one.
Well, she knew I didn't. She said, get it for me, I think, the first time. And then I said, no. And she was like, go get one for me. And getting back onto the rite of passage thing. I think, who was it? I think it may have been Jordan Peterson or somebody was talking about how America doesn't, or, you know, most Western countries don't have any kind of rite of passage, anything like that. And I think a lot of that probably comes with the family unit being dissolved. like divorces and things like that, and men not being in the house because men in general, and again, there's outliers out there, on both sides of the fence. Men in general uh, find it important to kind of prove yourself as a man in one way or another. Whether it's doing things around the house or helping build things or whatever the case is. But because we're so apart from that because of generations, like I'm a second generation, no, I'm a first generation of not having a dad at all. And then, if I wasn't the kind of dad I am, then your kids essentially would be second generation of not having a dad.
So what I immediately thought about when you started saying that is like, all right, well, you're 16. It's time for you to take out the trash. It's time for you to come
Yeah.
out and work with me. And and I don't even know culturally where that came from, but you would go out into the wilderness at a
Yeah.
certain age, or bar mitzvahs and quinceañeras,
Yeah, that's
which is
true.
a female version. Um,
I messed
That was
up how I
Carl.
said it.
oh, okay.
No.
I like that you fixed it though.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like you have instilled in Aaron that, right? Now it's time for you to step up to do that and
Yep.
teaching them to be men. And I don't even know what a woman's right. I mean, obviously, puberty creates
Yeah,
that space.
I feel like almost y'all unfortunately have it kind of built in almost where it's like y'all go through this. I
I
mean,
got boobs. I'm a woman. Woo,
yeah, guys.
rename.
I mean, guys go through their transformation, but y'all go through such a extreme transformation and then go through menstruation cycles and things like that. There could be some kind of, I mean, if we're looking at it more like a not in more of a spiritual way, meaning like almost paganism kind of way, it could be like going out into the wilderness and kind of like almost free bleeding in a way. And that could be a woman's rite of passage, but surrounded by other women, because that is a beautiful thing. That is a girl becoming a woman in that case. And, men could.
Spoken like a true girl dad, right? Like, I love that. I love that because I don't feel like that took me by surprise, and then it didn't because you have a daughter and
Yep.
you understand that.
So many guys out there are afraid to go and get tampons and pads and things like that. And I just don't
I don't know
understand
how
it.
they work.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean,
We are way off base, but I love this.
yeah. I mean, my thing is, what is the difference between going to the store and getting a pack of diapers for your child, or whenever they become a woman, going and getting a pack of pads or tampons or whatever they prefer?
Fear of the unknown. That maybe a taboo that came with that, and that would be interesting to do some research on too.
You actually, I think in my head, and I could be wrong in this, there's probably multiple reasons, but probably due to uh,
Masculating.
old Christian beliefs. Obviously, this is not how it is nowadays, but old Christian / Jewish beliefs of the woman's menstrual cycle being unclean. That's probably where
Yep.
it came from.
Yep. And apparently they had like sitting spots where they would go out and like, oh, they're on their period, but they
Yep.
didn't say it that way. Anyway, I think that I think a lot. I wish we had a counter. Every time I think about, I wish we had a counter. I wish I had a counter to count counters.
Yeah, that would be a lot easier on me in editing because
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go through and
I would
count every
have
single
lost
time.
track by then of how many or if I cared about it. You being able to rename yourself, whether anybody else accepted it or not. And it took the kids a while, and for me, like, I don't know, like I married, it was an adjustment. Like I married Dylan,
Mhm.
right? And now you're asking me to call you by some other name, but I totally got where you were coming from. And like I hated my last name growing up. I didn't care about getting married. Whoever, just get Farmer out of there. Like what a horrific last name for a overweight ginger kid with like the wraparound bangs, and it wasn't good for me. I would have renamed myself then, but I feel like I like the Lara Sarah, haha, funny, but I wouldn't even know what I'd rename myself. But the boldness for you to just say, this is who I am.
Yeah, I think for you, your name is so unique and it matches your personality because your personality is also unique.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap back around. Speaking of spirituality and all those things. So we love when you guys leave comments. And we love when you give us feedback. I appreciate all of the interaction. Whether we love, again, when you leave it on the video so we can come back and talk to that and other people can have a place of discussion. But I wrote down one of the comments that was left, also by our winner, which had to do with you discussing, we left off on spirituality, right?
Can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
I think I want to do another giveaway.
Okay.
I was just thinking about this whenever you said winner.
I'm going to give Lara away.
Yeah.
Her name. You can have it. Go ahead.
We'll have to talk about this. Lara and I will have to talk about this. But maybe another book giveaway. Maybe the next book that we cover, whatever that is. Maybe we can do
counseling login.
Yeah. Well, we could do another giveaway, but this will be whenever we hit 300 subscribers. So whenever we hit 300 subscribers, we'll do another book giveaway, and again, we'll come up with the whatever that is. And
you know what my brain said?
What?
You will leave your toe print in it. I do not want.
My toe print.
Yeah, I don't. The Mentos.
What in the world?
We've been eating. He's been eating Mentos.
You've been eating them too.
I haven't eaten one yet. Well, maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe I did. Just kidding. I'm gonna eat.
There was only half a pack whenever I came in here. Let me put it that way.
Okay. I don't remember eating that many. Now I ate one. But toe print. Toe print is what came to mind. He could toe print it if you want to, and we won't even charge extra.
I don't know about that. Somebody might take that and friggin'
steal your identity.
Yeah, steal my identity with my toe print.
Oh my gosh. So we talked about spirituality, and I said, what does that even mean? And I felt really silly, especially when I watched it back and you were editing it or watching the video, which I don't usually do. But when you guys interact, it does trigger us to go back and look at that space where we were talking. Because, again, we film a lot of these a number of times. And I'll get to that in a second, and I'll actually get to that. We have had many conversations between then and now. And so when you guys are interacting, you're helping us grow too. And so you put the definition down below. But I want to, it is. But you did it. That's all that matters. Because I'm going to read it again. So spirituality, and this comment came up because we were talking about, I don't know down here. We were talking about I think it was maybe a short. No, it was that actual, we opened up and we introduced the book, the Us Journal, which we do in our shorts. And it was, love is spiritual, emotional, or chemical. And that was the rabbit hole we were down. And somehow I know I made a reference to a religious, tradition. And then somehow throughout the podcast, we got on a tangent about that. And you had brought up religious, right? And it was really more spiritual, emotional, chemical. So I asked, what is spiritual? And spiritual means a person's search for meaning and purpose in life and a sense of connection to something greater than themselves. And I didn't know that. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't think of it in those terms. So,
so spiritual could be something like if they find a deep connection to art, that could be a spiritual connection for them.
Yeah.
Is that what that's saying?
Yeah, that's how I interpret it. Or when I think of a spiritual awakening, like something has connected with me that makes me feel a greater purpose. I'll give you an example. Outside of our work, there's a project that I have, a platform where I can go on and I can talk to community members. And in doing so, I'm able to connect and network those community members. And that is a very spiritual experience. Like I get in there and like we're doing a very
It's almost like soul connecting.
Yes, and I never thought about it literally till just now, until you said that. But I'm bringing somebody in a very intimate space. We record and a podcast. I thought I'd put that out there. So we record a podcast, and a lot of people are afraid. Like, it took me a long time to get comfortable behind the camera, behind the mic, and there's that quirkiness, and you want to sound professional and like what you're doing, and you don't want to sound like an idiot and say put your toe stamp on a book, whatever that is. But as people are talking and they're getting ready to share their story, it's literally their why, their what they do, they are opening up, and in front of a camera can be very intimidating. So
all these lights and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, there have been times where as soon as the lights come on in the very beginning, like, I'd start sweating. Gross. Like dripping sweat.
It's not gross. It's just
to me, it was gross. Like, I felt like, oh my gosh, like, I look a hot mess, whatever.
I mean, granted, where you were at, it's hot.
You're not wrong. But I have always looked for myself, like, why am I here? Like, what am I meant to do? What am I good at? I can do a little bit of everything, and I can learn anything, but like, what do I do? And how do you be good with people and care about people and make that, like, I don't want to say profitable, but make it something that you could sustain on, or that you could give back to people. And then to have that sense of connection with other people. What I am working on is far beyond myself, and what we're doing right now, I feel like that has incited my fuel here. Again, when you guys comment and tell us what you think, and let us know that the things that we're doing right here matters. This is far beyond us. We wouldn't be here just to recap our lives. We've learned something that we want to give to others.
Even if it's an Edgar Allan Poe thing where Blair and I never make money off of this or anything like that, that obviously that would be nice if we could become full-time YouTubers and sit here and help people, just like a therapist, except we're not therapists or anything.
Not at all.
But even if it's an Edgar Allan Poe thing where we're not getting paid for it, and after we die or after we quit and all this different stuff, somebody stumbles across a video and gets some kind of help, that's what's important to me. That's the legacy that I want to leave behind for the future,
Or for our kids to step into this realm and be able to learn. And even if nobody got, like, literally help, maybe nothing we said was like a key factor in changing it. But the fact that they didn't feel alone.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? The fact that, it was shared with me that you were saying something, and I didn't necessarily agree or get it. And I asked questions because I just didn't get it. And I wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying. And there's somebody out there watching that says, I thought the same thing. That I always say misery loves company, because that is a true fact, a true and a fact. But there is something communal about knowing, somebody else's mind works that way. That's why we send TikToks to each other, or shorts or reels when, they get it, that somebody else is like me. So the spirituality piece, I think everybody's looking for a spirituality, whether you like rocks, whether you are, sunbathing and feel connected to the earth, whether you are taking part in a sport and it feels like a very spiritual experience.
I could see that in a massive arena or something like that,
The energy.
Like a beehive.
Or a concert, right? I think about Rockville or Shinedown. Not a shameless plug. Love them. So whatever rabbit hole we got down, we were talking about religion versus spirituality. And those, to me, now that I've read it, I can see where people get the two confused, like connecting to something greater than ourselves, a creator, right? Whether you believe in the old gods new God, singular God, multiple gods. Maybe you don't believe in a God at all, but you believe in science, which is greater than you. I can see that.
I think I have a new definition that we need to get defined, which is religion. I think, to me, how I think about it now, this is not dictionary. We don't have phones, so we can't pull it up, or we're using our phones to record.
That came from Merriam-Webster. So I apparently remember that.
But religion to me is the construct of, it's kind of like the box that people put spirituality into. You know what I mean? It's like the spirituality is connecting, finding deeper meaning in the God that you're worshiping. And then the religion is, okay, we are now organizing this into something. You know, so I could be absolutely wrong in that. And
I can see what you're saying. Like, oh, you and I, because we all, I think deep down inside, we all want to connect. There are some people who just don't want to connect, but I think that that's the outlier, right? And so you have the same greater that you're connected to, and I do too.
Yeah.
Well, then we can talk about that and we can grow from one another. Yeah. Iron sharpens iron keeps coming up in my mind over the last 2 weeks over a number of things. So I could see why the two get intertwined. And I could see, like, if you don't have spirituality, then how could you really have practice a religion? Because all religions call you to connect with something greater than you.
Yeah.
So now that we know what spirituality is,
I'll put the definition of religion right here, somewhere in there.
Not right here, because we realize now that putting it in all this, there's dark and light, that's going to be hard to see. Yeah. Maybe right here.
Yep.
Hopefully
that's going to be small.
We're going
to have to zoom into it.
So we're talking about love is spiritual, emotional, chemical. I think you had said spiritual or emotional. I can't remember what you said. I'd said chemical, whatever. Nonetheless, I think we're just spitballing this idea. We were rabbit holing. We went down. Somehow we ended up on some total other thing as a example. Or
you're talking about Bridgerton?
Yeah, that's it. So I was talking about Bridgerton just because I watched two people in a religion have a prearranged, having nothing to do with prearranged. Yeah, that's it. I don't think it had anything to do with religion, but dowries or whatever.
Yeah.
And that they were arranged to be married and then fell in love. So it was a kind of a learn to love one another. Had nothing to do with that. And then when you wrapped back around, you talked about religion or spiritual, and you did mention the religious aspect of it.
Were we talking about soulmates? Was that the context?
No, that didn't come up till later, which is interesting because I would like to share that. You were just talking about, religion and spirituality, and then you did say that you didn't believe in soulmates. So we decided to do some research on that.
Really quick, because I could see, listening to all of this, I could see where this sounds like, oh, we might be trying to justify or trying to do anything, like kind of backtrack on things that we've said. This part that we're talking about right now is very specifically things that we learned from the audience, went and did more research to better educate ourselves, and to come back and tell you guys our revelations that we've had through the research, mostly that Lyra's, thanks to you guys, but mostly to the research that Lyra's been doing here. So, and then bringing it back to me to enlighten me.
It's funny that you mentioned, haha, I felt like I needed to laugh because I said it's funny.
Okay. What in the world?
It was just that moment where I'm like, oh, it's funny. Is it really funny or is it ironic or whatever? I think it's ironic, and people misuse that term all the time. That you mentioned feeling, maybe the viewers feeling like we were justifying.
Yeah.
Because that's not at all what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I never thought that. Like, I really am following up from that episode because, again, to me, I'm taking this seriously because I do want to help people. And when I read the comments, even if it was only for one or two people, or you guys interact with us, even if it's not on the platform. I love when you do it on the platform because we can have a community where we can connect spiritually or emotionally or whatever.
Yeah.
But I never viewed it, what we were doing, as it coming off as defending, if you will. But I can see, like, that is your internal mind working through the conversation that we're having now, because it could come across that way. Never thought about it that way. We're just delving into that comment.
Sitting in I'm not putting myself on any kind of stool here, but
especially a pedestal.
Yeah. But sitting in kind of like a producer seat, I have to kind of think of every scenario as we're talking. And that's why I'm kind of like, okay, well, a commenter could, or a viewer could definitely see this as us justifying what we said or backtracking on things that we said. And I just want to make that clear for anybody out there who's listening, that we are not backtracking. We're not doing any of these things. We are just clarifying and being educated by the community.
I feel like the smile on my face probably needs to be explained. We work really hard to figure out how to do this sustainably. So I would love to spend so much more time doing this. I have so many things I want to talk to you guys about, and I love sitting up. You and I talking has been the foundation of our relationship. And when you said thinking of it as a producer perspective, first of all, that is you, again, just being real with people. Like, we do think about it in that aspect, not because we don't get on here and have these conversations because we just want to make money. Like, there's so many things that we could do outside of that. I say so many things, but I'm sure there are a number of things that we could do, and we have done things outside of this. But it was just so encouraging to me, and I guess attractive to me, that you said thinking about it as a producer, because I had a call with somebody who does do this full time and doesn't get in front of the camera, but produces for, very big companies.
Yeah.
And they were saying that as you record, you really need to think of it in a producer mindset while you're recording. And that's just
ironic.
Still my heart.
Really quick. So I guess this episode is not going to be a
not at all. I'd already thought about that.
So just continuing with kind of back history and stuff like that. You guys can. I kept all of the old content on here on purpose, specifically the live streams, because if you go back and listen to the live streams that we used to do, Lara and I used to do, very much a lot of it, obviously video game stuff, you're trying to be kind of comedic in certain aspects, but a lot of it too was us. It's almost like the precursor of this right here, us sitting down. Are you on your phone?
I am trying to set a timer because the battery's dying on this.
Oh my goodness.
What do I do?
I'm just kidding. Oh, okay. I'm just giving you a hard time. Anyway, so yeah, you could go back and watch that we were doing this same kind of concept back then, and actually there was a couple people who said that whenever we were recording or doing live streams, it just wasn't sustainable.
Said what?
Said, oh, we like your honesty, we like you being open with us. Yeah, and like the reason that they were saying that, we weren't specifically talking about relationships or our dynamic or anything like that. I was talking about the back end of what was going on. Like, I was just being absolutely real with them. I'm like, my internet, I had a whole saga of my internet being just god awful, and
I feel like that deserves a podcast, a whole series. You were just being you.
Yeah.
And I think, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
There's a perception of when you are in front of the camera that, and not that it doesn't sell. We see reality TV, we see characters, we see personas. I mean, think about what was the greatest troll on the internet. What was his name?
Wiki2990?
No, not that one. The one who actually, the guy who was really big and then boom, Nikocado, Avocado, yeah. I think it was, whatever.
Nikocado.
And never watched his content, But you know, his whole shtick was
I forgot to turn the ice maker off. So
getting becoming overweight. It wasn't his thing, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
And this whole time he had like bulk recorded content, and then he boom one day just what the heck happened, right?
You know what he's doing now?
What's that? My hand does not want to know, but I do want to know.
He is re-trolling by saying, "Oh, he's still fat," and putting out. So while he was overweight, he recorded the videos that he made.
Right.
As he was still fat again, he also recorded content saying, "Oh no, I'm actually 3 steps ahead of you guys. I'm still fat." I mean,
that is the biggest troll.
Yeah.
Congrats for him thinking that far ahead. But you see a lot of people like I think I mentioned this in another episode or another conversation where this guy played this nurse, but he was really a female nurse, and everybody assumed his preference, and then it came out that he didn't have that preference, and everybody was offended. So there are characters, is what I'm saying, and in some sense, that sells, right? And we all get invested, and we've all watched. If you watch anything that is not reality, like not literal reality, but like a documentary where you see whatever, even then producers walk behind and like what makes sense for good TV.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to business, there's a piece of that where you have to know, what do you guys want to see? What do people want to see? If we make terrible content, right, nobody's going to click on here and watch. If you're not married and you don't have any interest in that, and you're like, I'm not a player, I just hunch a lot, whatever, like this isn't for you, So, but if we're going to come on here and do that, I would much rather not play a role, because I can't put that mask on. With us. It's just you and me.
Yeah.
You guys are joining and hearing, and this is something I want to talk about in a minute. Us. This is us. And I don't. Sorry, guys. Speaking of this being us.
Now, there is a certain degree of pressure that is added just having, and I mean, with your other project, you have a lot more time in front of cameras and stuff than I do. But in general, I mean, it's not really natural to be having a conversation with a bunch of lights and cameras and all this different stuff. So it does make it a little bit different. But as far as the things that we say and the intent that we have behind it, it most certainly is. Like, this is me and this is you, and that's the only way we can be,
I wanna come back to that. I do want to finish up so we can stay linear, at least like we've done that plot twist, because I do want to talk about that. But when it came to the conversation, one of the topics was the soulmate. So I think you said that, and I don't really know where that. I think that came from you just thinking about the topics, right?
Well, I think the question that was in the love journal was, do you believe in soulmates? And
no, that's what's wild.
Oh,
okay. To me, I didn't mean to.
No, that's all right.
My head
I don't remember what it was.
No, it was literally.
Just watching it. That's the irony in it.
No, it was literally love spiritual, emotional, or chemical.
Okay.
And I think because of the progression of the conversation, soulmates is an easy transition, and your mind must have been pondering all this stuff. If I look at it from the outside,
there's a question in there that soulmates.
Maybe there is. Maybe I missed that part. There was some parts I was clicking through to get to the point where the person who commented said what they said, and it in regards to soulmates. The definition between religion and spiritual, they are two different things. And we clearly know that now. We have definitions except for religion, but I think we get the gist of it. But when it comes to soulmates, and the comment was something about soulmates or twin flames, which I want to go look on that, or look that up. But you said that you did not believe in soulmates. So as we were prepping for this, I really wanted to know, let's address that. I think that's a good topic. And I looked up the definition of soulmates, and it is a close friend or romantic partner with whom one has a unique, deep connection based on a mutual understanding and acceptance. So I'm going to say that one more time. A close friend or romantic partner, so it doesn't have to be your husband or wife. Yeah, exactly. With whom one has a unique, deep connection. Mm-hmm. And so not just a deep connection, but a unique one, a special one, based on mutual understanding and acceptance. So right now I'm thinking about my best friend in Kentucky. I'm going to forgive her that she moved away. And she had to provide for her family and had a really good opportunity to do that. But we have such a unique relationship. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, when we became friends, it was like so polar. Yep. And she was so perfect in my mind. Like I wanted to be, when I grow up, I want to be her. She went and got her teeth cleaned regularly, like dental appointments and dermatology appointments, and her oil changed. And I was just like trying to get to the next paycheck. And I definitely at one point had a beer display from the Kangaroo in my house, like, whatever. I was a mess. And we have such a unique connection that, like, she's my soulmate of a best friend, right? And when I think about soulmates, I think for a long time, my perspective on it was that if you have a soulmate, you're meant to be with them. Yeah. Right? So how ridiculous of me, I gotta put that down because I keep talking about it. How ridiculous of me to think that, oh, I found my soulmate in the same town that I lived in. Yeah. And it is hard already to find somebody you can have that unique connection with, right? You can be your weird self. But to have a soulmate in your own town and you spend the rest of your life with them.
Yeah, that was hard for me to wrap my head around as far as a spiritual / religious aspect. And I want to go back to that because whenever I started thinking about it again, as far as a spiritual and religious, I'm putting kind of like spiritual / religious kind of connotation to this. Yeah. Because now we know, definitionally, they're different. Right. So, in that context, I think it depends on your belief system. Like, if you're an atheist, then obviously, soulmates, as far as this goes, I'm not talking about the definition. I will get back to that. But as far as
this being
the definition part of it, because
we're putting that aside. Right. Okay.
Right this second, yes. Right now, I'm just speaking of what I was thinking as I was listening or reading her comment and then reflecting on what she was saying. So, as far as, and based on the things that I said, so as far as me not believing in, why can't I say that right?
Believing in?
Yes. Okay. Soulmates. If it was a completely secular, no spiritual side of it, like almost like they're against the word soul, unless you're talking about bottom of a shoe, then yeah, I would still say that that person that is completely like that still probably wouldn't believe in that unless they read the definition. Now, somebody, I don't know as far as...
So, before you move on, I just want to make sure I'm tracking because you're saying that prior to you knowing what the
Dragon Ball Z. Oh. Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
Prior to you knowing the term, like in its definition, right? You knew the term, you didn't know the definition.
I guess right now I'm speaking in hypotheticals. I'm speaking as if I am the person that doesn't know the definition.
And what did you assume the definition was?
I thought it was something like some kind of like spiritual bond kind of aspect to it.
And so you're saying that based on your previous perspective of that word, which is a spiritual bond. Yes. That you believe that what?
For me personally, I wasn't necessarily I didn't believe that there was soulmates.
That somebody could be spiritually bonded to someone else.
Yes, because, well, yes, you could be spiritually bonded to somebody else. As far as, again, this is leaving the atheist to the side. Okay, now I'm talking more about spirituality talking about more religious kind of
structured
aspects to it.
religion where they
Yes.
have a God, they believe in that.
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know where Christian beliefs are in that. I mean, I guess there's Adam and Eve and that whole story, and same thing with
And
Judaism.
literally made for each other.
Yeah, they're
Of
absolutely.
each other even.
Yes.
or whatever.
So maybe they have the same kind of concept in that belief system, but other belief systems, like in different paganism kind of things, like
And Christianity says
Greek-
God makes somebody for you.
maybe, I don't know, I haven't seen it.
It's not in the Bible, I don't think.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
But in like what is it called? Shoot, like Greek mythology, they have the seers. I can't remember what they're called, like oracles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's what they are, but there are three sisters. You saw them in Hercules, where
Right.
they have the one eyeball, whatever. Or in Norse mythology, you have Norns who weave the fate of people. So in that aspect, then most certainly there would be a soulmate, and you would be predestined to find that person, no matter if you're in the same small town or if you're in a faraway town. And where my mindset, huh?
How great would that be?
Yeah, and my
You
like
said, yeah, like you did
I'm
in
saying-
Refund that.
I'm saying it like if it was predestined and we knew that it was predestined and
Right.
I knew that I was predestined to be with you, that would make things a lot easier. I wouldn't have had to fumble around essentially. But even then,
Or would you have taken the liberty to, well, it doesn't matter if I can cuss now, right? If I F around and find out, right?
Yeah.
As I don't know, I felt wrong for that. But some people might take the liberty. A whole nother conversation. Go ahead.
and then where I was at was like, okay, so what are the chances of somebody finding that soulmate? And that's where I was thinking
Oh yeah.
in that thought process, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, is what are the chances if God made, what is it, 8 billion people on the planet now? Something like that. And then because
That's what I wanted to know, though.
because I'm heteronormative, split that in roughly 50. I mean, I know it's give or take, but roughly 50.
What word did you say?
Heteronormal? Normal?
Huh. I didn't know
Normacy?
that was a thing.
Yeah, that just means heterosexual.
Okay.
I think I missaid it the second time. But anyway, um,
I've never read that term.
Yeah.
Okay, because you are heterosexual
Yep.
based on today's society.
Yep, you can split that kind of in half and give or take a lot of numbers, but split that roughly in half.
Conceptually.
Yeah, and that's still a lot of freaking people.
Right.
That's 4 billion people on the planet.
And
that-
we're driving up to North Georgia and past how many people?
Yeah.
And your soulmate could have been in one of those cars and you could have never crossed their paths.
Yeah.
I mean, most people do not leave their state,
Mhm.
especially with the economy the way it is. Nonetheless, travel to every state and then cross country. So I think
and
that
also
was what you.
learning different languages and all these
Right.
other things. But now that I know the definition, my views have totally changed. Yes, there are soulmates. I believe that you and I are soulmates in that aspect. I see that little smile coming up. And I also, as you were reading it, I also had this other thought that popped in my head, which was based on that definition, people could fall out of soulmate just like somebody could fall out of love because,
You ain't so special no more.
well, because interests have changed. Sorry, I have scratched my throat. But
I
because,
imagine you drinking something with like little fingers in it and scratching your throat.
but because people change so much throughout their life, like there's a huge change that happens in people's brains as it becomes fully formed at 25, that could definitely make it where if one person's not growing and the other person's growing, then they could totally lose interest in that person and lose the uniqueness to their relationship
Right.
and to each other.
What a great perspective. Like, really, when you think about the definition. This goes back to the intelligence question in our short. So, again, one more time for those in the back are they're just tuning in. I don't think people would do that, but
Yeah, somebody clicks on a YouTube video and just
right,
halfway through it.
right. Somebody
funny.
left this here. I'm going to click on this. A close friend or romantic partner with whom one has a unique, deep connection. So all that's pretty black and white, based on a mutual understanding and acceptance. So what I might understand now and accept now may be vastly different
Mhm.
than when I accept and understand then. And if you really, think about, especially, we'll go with like my mom's generation, right? Or even mine and yours. A little bit of an age gap there, but I'm thinking about how we grew up. What I would have what would have been acceptable and things that I could understand is so different
Mhm.
than when I grew up.
Mhm.
So let's say you and I started dating when you and I were both 18, right?
Mhm.
Hypothetically. And there's an age gap. And even your own beliefs, like you and I got married under a much different pretense
Mhm.
of beliefs, right? Um, and what you have, like you and I again got married, and you said, "This is my boundary. Like, I will not be with a criminal, or someone who does drugs, or someone who X Y Z." Right?
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, "Well, I'm not going to be with anyone, even if we didn't say it out loud. Like in my mind, I'm not going to be with anybody who X Y Z."
Yeah.
And you and I have both found ourselves in our relationship confronting those boundaries and confronting those mutual, what we would have both agreed, like, hey, we accept this and we don't accept that. I can for sure see how someone could feel like they had a soulmate and somebody was their soulmate.
Yep.
And then as you grow and change as a person, and if you're not, I personally believe if you're not growing and you're not changing, then you're not really living.
Yeah.
Things will challenge you. Things will, if you're watching this and we've talked about something you've never thought about, or you've never dialogued with your loved one with, or it's just never been something of topic, you right now might feel challenged in your belief system. I think I've never thought about it from a perspective of once you find a soulmate, that's it forever.
Mm-hmm.
But they could be a soulmate for the moment, right? Like we all have situational things.
Yeah.
And maybe soulmates. And I'd love to know where we all got this preconceived notion, like it had to be some Hollywood romanticized movie where, oh, that's my soulmate. Like
it's like diamonds are forever kind of thing.
I like that one. There's another one that came to my mind. Oh gosh. No, it's gone. The whatever statement that came to my mind about love and finding someone is essentially like, you're my forever, you're my diamonds are forever, whatever. Diamonds are forever, whatever. I don't know. But again, I don't know where it originated that in our minds that soulmates meant one thing, because clearly you and I did not have the definition, and I feel like we're fairly intelligent, fairly learned.
Yeah.
And then I've definitely never thought about the antithesis of that.
Yep. So. And to counterbalance the point that I made, it goes back to the last podcast that we had, which is it's important to pay attention to your partner's interest and to pay attention to what they're doing. Allow them to do those things. Not allow. That's, y'all know what I mean.
The dom and the sub.
That's not what I mean. I mean, like,
it may not be what you meant, but it may be what I thought.
Oh gosh. What I'm saying is, give them the opportunity without nagging them to do their hobbies, and also maybe join in and you might like it too. Beyblades are a great example of that. We'll get into that in a minute too. But what I'm getting at is it's very important to, if y'all are both on the same page as far as trying to work on communication and things like that, and trying to continuously learn about your partner and communicate and build that relationship, then falling out a soulmate and falling out of love and not wanting to be married to them or be with them anymore is a much it's much less likely to happen. I think, in my opinion, I think it's a lot less likely to happen if you're doing those things.
I think if you find someone, I agree, first of all. I think if you find someone that you can say, this,
Oh, you got that itching throat now.
right?
Drink? You need to get your drink?
I got one. I'll just die first. I'll just unalive first. Let me plug that one in there.
The new thing is sewer slide. That's the new one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Sewer slide and corn. But those are all code words for different things.
Oh, yes, I agree with that, but I didn't know the first one. I pulled this card out because, again, the soulmates thing just really has me wrapped up because it really was.
What are you, Bebo right now?
I'm dying. Hang on.
You got that.
Okay. You can cut all that.
I'm not cutting anything. I'm putting,
oh my gosh.
I'm putting Bebo's face on you every single time you do that.
All right, I'm ready. So, having this aha moment between the two of us, because we really didn't come and sit down.
Sorry, I'm already thinking about the edits.
Okay. Yeah. Having not pre-gamed this. We didn't sit down and talk about this. He was setting up. I was watching or interacting with the comments. I was looking at the back end of stuff and his back end. And I wrote down the definition of soulmates, and I was kind of taken aback. And then I said it over here so I didn't forget what I was talking about, because this was just the opening, and I haven't even got to the last part before we got into the 5 love languages, which we never made it to. But and I'm glad that we didn't, because I think all this is important. The soulmates piece of that.
If you watch anime, this is a filler episode.
No, it is not. Don't you dare let me into something you would not let me watch so we could get through the season.
Oh my goodness.
I could not have put it better myself, and probably wouldn't have. The fact that if you're doing all the things that matter, right? It's already so hard, at least for me, to find somebody that I can have that connection with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that, and I can be pretty weird, and I can be pretty weird openly, and I can be pretty free with myself, but to be completely vulnerable and like I tell you all kinds of stuff, like stuff that even that internal voice is like, that's for us, girl. Mm-hmm. Sarah, Lara, y'all keep that between the two of you. We're not sharing that with anybody else. But I will tell you those things because I have such a deep bond with you. Mm-hmm. And there are even times where I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. That's a me thought. But I feel that connection with you. And I have never met anybody else that I felt that with. I may have felt deep connections. I may have thought I had a soulmate. I may have thought that I had that relationship or rapport with someone else, but I haven't. And now that I have that, I want to do everything I can to keep that with you. I want to live the rest of my life with you. And we've had this conversation when we have been in some of the hardest conversations. Mm-hmm. Like we have gone through all the things that we've gone through. We've overcome all these things. Could you, especially in my mind for you, could you walk away and have 3 now less headaches, and could you have a lot more money and a lot less ginger temper, and could you just you and Juliet live your best life? Absolutely. And there are times that I think about, like, I'm so fortunate that you have decided to stick with me. And for me, I don't really have a con. Like, I can't think of life being any sweeter without you. Or easier without you. You
wouldn't have a hard head giving you pushback about all that things.
But you've challenged me in a good way. Neither here nor there. We're deserving of each other in some way, shape, or form, right?
Everybody has their pros and cons.
Right. So if I think about as much as we've come through, if I really want to make it work with you, and I don't want to do this again, like I don't want to, there's nobody that I met like you.
I already told you I'd become Master Roshi and just go out and live on a desert island
with your nudie magazines
and panties. Yeah.
And what?
Panties.
Mayonnaise. Hey, when you go back, that's going to sound just like mayonnaise. And I hope that you mayonnaise with some mayonnaise on. That's what you said.
Mayonnaise.
I love it. I cannot wait to watch this back.
Why did I try to sound like Forrest Gump and I sound like Patrick?
No, I'll take both of them because mayonnaise.
I got to figure out how to like morph that.
I will work on that too with the sheep writing. Anyway,
gosh, give it a break.
I'm not. But thinking about like putting in that effort, putting in that work. And I think that's why people say marriages work, to keep up that soulmate feeling. If you are fortunate enough to be with someone at some point that you call the soulmate, and then get past the puppy dog stage, I still feel like they're my soulmate. And then you go through some hardship, right? And they're still my soulmate. That 7-year itch is, I guess, what people say, right? We haven't made it that far, but I'm telling you, I don't feel any itchy. You put into play communications, the things that we're talking about, the things that we have way earlier on worked on. Mm-hmm. You can have your soulmate for life.
Yep.
And how amazing is that? And
I think the 7-year itch, you mentioned that. I think the 7-year itch comes from everything that we're talking about, which is lack of communication.
We got real itchy real soon.
People just grow tired of the bull crap that they're not talking through, or
monotony.
The monotony, and not going on date nights because maybe in that 7-year time they've had kids and all this other stuff. Things that we've talked about so far on the podcast.
Punch in the clutch.
Yeah, just
every day.
Doing the same things every day, and then they're like, oh well, it's time somebody show me attention where my partner's not showing me that in this kind of way, but you're not communicating it either.
I think it's wild that, and then I think I've got a way to land the plane. Okay. Even though I really want to keep riding the plane.
It's all right. I got to piss anyway.
Me too.
Oh, my God. What?
You said, oh, my God, to me winking, and you were like, I got to piss. I love that.
You want me to be real?
Well, you're doing that.
No. What? We're supposed to be real around here is what I'm saying. Okay.
Speaking of real, just so you guys know, other than me choking, you may have noticed me rubbing my lips together. So I have a lip tint on.
Yeah, that's going off.
Oh, I'm sure. And this happened the last episode, and I tried to use the mic to like hide it. But if you have any suggestions for a lip tint that stays on while you have 2.5 hours worth of conversation and a drinks and eat a chocolate reindeer, I don't know.
You need to go to Mac. Huh? You need to go to Mac.
That.
Or still Juliet's MAC lipstick.
I might. I was going to say I would never, but I might.
The last one, you already said, I thought about it.
I have thought about it. When you bring it up. So, when it comes to the things that we have overcome, right? I feel like everything that we had got condensed. Especially with the blended family. Like, if you have a blended family, can we pause? Yeah. I'm going to choke. You go pee, I'll go pee. And then I'll come back to that. If you don't mind.
How close are we to being done?
On the home stretch.
Because it's kind of hard to stop everything and then sync it all back up and everything.
Okay. You ready?
It'd be different if we were...
Okay, I'll finish it out. Now we're going fast. You can come back and I'm gone. Like, come back to me. Leave this in. Okay, whatever. All right. So, if I look at my previous life experience and I look at us, I don't know how to explain it because I did not grow up with a blended family, and I know you did, so maybe this might resonate more with you. Multiple.
Yeah.
Blended, lots of families, lots of blending. Yeah. Like a ninja up in here. The ninja blender.
Oh, the blender. Okay.
2 burns. You got one for me, and then I got a slow burn, except mine was much slower than none joke. Anyway, if you have a blended family, I think we're going to start that over. Okay. So for us having a blended family, if I think about my first experience, like my first relationship and what I was exposed to growing up, which was my mom and dad, it doesn't matter what they went through, they stuck it out, right? Mm-hmm. They're still together to this day. There are times that it blows my mind how different they are, but they make it work. And then I look at growing up with somebody, like my first real relationship. I have my children and trying to make that work, right? And there's something to be said for the evolution of two people get together, they fall in love, they get married, they have kids, maybe not in that order. And then you're raising kids, and that's a whole thing where you're both trying to figure out your first child and all these things, and go to work and whatever. And then that you age and the child ages, and then next thing you know, you're in the teenage years, and the whole time you're learning all of this for the first time, and you're just living life, trying to get through it or enjoying it. And then the 7-year itch, right? Where the whole time maybe you guys were just focused on little Susie, or little Jack. I'm going to go with Jack. You have not taken the time to invest in one another. For us, and it is a stark difference to me in relationships, right?
Just make sure my foot wasn't on camera.
It feels really, I don't want to say foreign, but it's so much different to be in a relationship where like you were a whole person, not that doesn't exist when like two people meet, they've had their relationships, they get together, they get married, have kids, and live happily ever after. But like you literally did start an entire life before me. And I don't know you.
Oh my
God. I don't know that person. I don't know what it was like watching you raise children. I don't know because we don't share any kids. I don't know what it's like to both of us have sleepless nights together when it comes to, I know what that's like, but I don't know what it's like in context of kids. I don't understand the 7-year itch concept with you, because we have had our bouts of independence, and we've very short, but we've had those. We have not had to raise a child together. There has not been monotony, because it has been our time has been filled with getting used to each other's kids, getting used to each other's quirks, getting used to each other's former baby daddy mamas, getting used to each other's families. Like what has happened in our relationship in 6 years feels like a whole lifetime. Like I feel like I've always been with you.
I was about to say, I think for us, if the 7-year itch was gonna, I feel like the 7-year itch for us would have been expedited, and same thing for anybody in similar situations to us, because, and I think maybe that's why,
Divorce rates are so high.
Well, divorce rates in people on their second marriages is so high, is because we
just figured out the world's problems right here.
Yeah.
Science, who needs it?
Not like it. I feel like people who are married the first time, raising kids, 7 years goes by, and in that 7 years, like you said, they have had a child, and that child, or work stresses and things like that, all those things have compiled onto this young couple. And that's probably why it takes about 7 years, because if you think about it, they're in a relationship for a couple of years, get married, and then after they get married, maybe they're working on their career, finishing up school, things like that. And I'm gonna cut back to you, right onto your face while you're wiping your makeup off.
Just zoom in.
But anyway, so they're working through all this different stuff, and they still have their independency as far as not independency. They're still just the couple together. There's no children involved. There's no, they're living on their own, things like that. As soon as the children and career path actually kick in is whenever, I think that's probably within that 5 to 7 year mark.
7 is really where, if you got married, boom, got pregnant, and had a kid, 7 is where I feel like are more independent.
You're talking about the kids, or?
Yeah. I'm
talking about the couple themselves.
Okay. 5 years is really where you start establishing, and we could just be making this up, and I like that, any more than maybe there's lipstick on my lips. I don't know. I wiped it off when you didn't pay him back. But it's easy to remember last year. It's easy, depending on your memory, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. reaching back 5 years ago, like thinking about when Dayla was 15,
Mm-hmm.
right? That seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
17, I mean, I can see why that time frame, and 7 year itch just maybe whatever feels
Yeah,
good, but I can see why that's enough distance from the newness, but not too far in where you're like, well, I've been here for 10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like the term 7 year itch, it's applicable in modern time differently than what it was before, because modern time people have probably been dating for probably five, like people date longer now
Yep.
and then get married later and then have kids later, and statistically speaking. And so they the newness is already wore off by the time they get married. So yeah, the married life's new, and but
We've been struggling long before that.
yeah, but then they introduce the kid, and I'm not blaming everything on kids. Obviously,
There's a lot of people not having kids.
yeah, there's a lot of contributing factors other than just having kids. Kids and not having sleep does bring a lot of stress on the things, especially if you have a career and everything. But maybe whenever that, and I don't know when the term was created, but I'm thinking probably before the 60s, maybe into maybe 50s or 60s, somewhere around that time frame, I would assume, or before, And so for those people, they were having a lot of kids. And so, especially if they're lower income people, they were having a lot of children. And maybe in that time frame, and the husband is the one providing and working, and the wife's at home. So maybe in that time frame, the husband got tired of dealing with all the kids and dealing with the wife and everything, so he started getting a mistress or whatever. But going back to the original thought, which is why I think in a blended family situation that might be expedited, is because yeah, you may have not had the sleepless nights, but now you have different problems of the kids getting acclimated. What are the roles of the stepdad or stepmom? Like for me personally, learning the children and their, oddities and their emotional states and
Now their personalities, you roll right out the gate with oddities. I love it.
I mean, that's part of their personalities, but you know what I mean. Learning the children themselves, on top of learning us as a couple and learning our little, things. I don't want to say oddities again, but learning our little.
I mean, we are the odd ones.
Well, that's true. I didn't even think about it like that. But learning our quirks, like you said earlier,
doesn't help the fact that we rocketed into relationship.
But
nonetheless,
I'm speaking almost more. I'm speaking specifically about us, but more of a broad stroke of why, maybe why these couples don't last as long as what a first marriage would probably last, is probably because I mean, coming into a relationship like this is extremely stressful. I mean, just speaking on my side of things, it's like going from one kid kind of doing our own thing to now having a wife and four kids. That was a huge stress. I accepted it.
I'm so I knew you loved me.
Yeah. But I could definitely see.
Accepted it.
I mean, I literally agreed to it.
No, there was not a time that, I mean, you did say you liked a challenge, and you said maximum effort. I'm going to pick the hardest challenge. You played Dark Souls on expert mode, is what you did.
Dark Souls is expert mode.
Yeah, but on expert
freaking
mode.
Game, man.
You stepped into a role where not only did you have 3 kids ranging, and you already had experience with 3 kids with 3 very various types of issues on all ranges: physical, emotional, mental, or I don't want to say any of my kids have mental issues, but they came from me, they all have mental issues, but and dove right in.
Yep.
Right? And you knew what you were getting yourself into because we've been friends before that. And a I guess I put on this air that was a lot more stable, if you will, than you realized, and I don't think I even realized at the time. But it was a slingshot effect.
Yeah.
And I commend you and question you all at the same time for when you made that commitment. Like, you really made that commitment.
Yeah.
And you can decide whether I'm choking or crying. There have been times like when it has been really hard with us because of like pressures and circumstances. Like, you've always been fantastic. I've always said that. But then I knew you chose me. Like, at any point in time, you could pack up everything, including your stand-up mixer, right?
Oh my gosh.
Which is what I wanted to have if he ever left. Maybe not so much now, but you could pack up you and Giulietti Spaghetti and ride off into the wind and live your best life.
Yep.
She is vastly different than my spawn, right? And they're not. I say that jokingly, but my mini me's.
I disagree with that, but as far as Dale is concerned, they're pretty similar.
Right. The ones in the house, right?
Yeah.
And you could save a ton of money, and you don't even have to switch your car insurance. You could save a ton of money, and you could save a ton of headache and travel and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you stuck through that expedited 7 years.
Yeah.
Right. And not to say, because someone might be watching this and be like, oh, well, like, you married into this crazy situation, and I am, the way it comes across is that you're perfect, right? And maybe she just dotes on you or whatever that is, and I'm not saying that that's the case, but I really do have to say, when it comes to the whole of it, that you are in a very unique position, and it has been a lot of work for you, and I very much appreciate that. And it doesn't go unnoticed.
Oh, I know. You tell me. And the kids tell me. I appreciate it.
And I think the reward is sweeter in the end, too, right? To watch you, I'm trying to convince you, I guess.
I know.
But now you have been able to impact 3 lives.
Yeah.
And because you stayed through that itch period, and I'm sure that itched real hard if you had one. Because I wouldn't have blamed you, like, at any point, if you just like,
Yeah, I mean,
your eyebrows told me everything I needed to know.
What?
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, it was hard, but I mean, even back at the old house, sitting on the stoop, I guess, in the laundry room area. I mean, it goes back to what I always said and what kind of opinion you back then, which is, I don't want you. I mean, I don't need you. I want you. I don't need you to be around to make me happy. I don't need the kids to make me happy. I want y'all around. Just like I want Juliet, I know she doesn't have a choice, and I don't have a choice because she's mine, like biologically mine and my responsibility legally. But for my whole family, I want y'all. I want y'all around. That's why I cherish the time. I mean, obviously, but I'm saying,
I'm joking, seriously.
Yeah. But that's why I want to spend time with my family and not go and have the boys and all this other stuff. I'd rather be home spending time with my family. The boys can come later. Shut up.
So obviously,
it's so dumb sometimes, man.
Obviously, not the episode that either of us expected, right? And we could keep going. I love being real. I'm gonna sit up for this one. Be real with you guys. We have filmed, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I hopefully actually won't say it again. And if it comes up later on, well, you should have been an OG and watching us from the beginning. We have filmed these over the last 2 years. maybe 3, at least 2.
Not this iteration.
No, but this.
No, not the relationship podcast. Over the last couple of years, it's been the gaming stuff.
Has it really been only a year?
Maybe a year. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with a year. Whatever.
Realistically, probably about
multiple times. I've been doing the other podcast for 6.
Yeah, that's how long. That's roughly whenever we started really taking this seriously.
Okay. So, we'll talk about really taking it seriously. We have made multiple attempts at this. And for one reason or another, we didn't keep it, or it didn't make sense, or we had changed the evolution, right? Yep. You'll see that in the shorts of our answers or things that we talk about. Getting on here and having these kind of dialogues where it doesn't go how we expected, and we might go down rabbit holes. You're just sitting in our living room. I mean, technically it's the studio and it's his office, but you guys are here.
In our house.
Right. So you're in our house, creepers. And
you perverts.
Right. You didn't even pay for that content. You said something earlier about the lights.
Just as a little bonus thing at the end, I'm going to talk about whenever we're streaming. Just help me remember that, please.
Okay. So you talked earlier about the lights, right? And how, yes, they can be, that we're just having real dialogue. And there is a camera in my mouth. There is I almost said that, a microphone in right at my mouth, and there's a camera right here, and at some point there's a timer so I don't get down a long rabbit hole, which we too late now, and there are lights everywhere, and we have notes and whatever, but there is much of this conversation, all of it really, where it's just you and I.
Yep.
Inherently, when you are having these conversations, there is a filter, right? And there is a part of you that you still, we know that we're going to use this for content later. We might not want to say the most offensive things that you only talk about with your friends inside your living room. That Eminem song.
Oh, not that one.
Oh my gosh.
Not that I know of. I probably don't.
So you're going to have to link that. So there is a sense of, just like you have with your spouse, there are things that you guys would say in the booth in the back of the restaurant to each other that you would never say to anyone else. So there's a privacy, but there is something that you guys watch that we haven't discussed any of this before. And honestly, you read the 5 Love Languages book. Bring it around town. I'm super excited about this. You have read that independently, and I didn't even know that you had started that. And I have read that. And we have both made notes, and we are coming to this podcast with no prep. Today I wrote notes so I didn't lose track. And somebody reached out and shared that they really appreciated us being just real, and how important to them, or how impactful it was, that you can see these are real reactions. All
right, sorry about the hard cut. My camera's turned off, so anyway, let's go ahead and hop back in there.
We're going to hop in to hop out.
Yep.
Like me in all the cold springs in Florida. Apparently there's only one warm spring. You showed that to me. Anyway, as we sit here and have these conversations with you, you guys watched us real time, learn what soulmates meant, to have aha moments, a genuine time of reflection and appreciation for you and all that you have brought to this family, and the dedication and that you have given me as a soulmate, and still my heart, and the kids and this family. I love the fact that we can get on here, and we all have to filter ourselves because YouTube says so. Yep. And we have to be mindful of the things that we say, because this is here forever. Yep. We are laying the foundation for something that people will be able to go back, and once it's out there, it's out there. And we do cut things, and we try not to do that, just willy-nilly. Yep. We try to be very real with you guys, and you watch a lot of conversations happen that we don't practice this. Most of it, we don't even discuss ahead of time. And the topics come up very last minute or come up in the natural conversation. But thank you for sharing feedback. Thank you for sitting here and watching us do that. Thank you for allowing us, and even if only one person watches this, that's all that matters to us. If nobody watched it, our kids will be able to go back and watch it, and we'll be able to go back and watch it and learn, because we've come a long way and transformed. But please be mindful. There is a vulnerability. I was telling Bjorn earlier today, you ever see those couples in public where they're like arguing, and the woman is very clearly bitter at I don't know why I went directly to the woman, but she has all these underlying resentments toward the spouse or the significant other, and pretty much is, I don't want to say humiliating him, but she doesn't have validation, so she tries to get it in front of everybody else because she needs to hear that. This is very much like counseling without a counselor. We talk about topics that are usually discussed in the heat of the moment, but not in the heat of the moment. So you get to participate in us having self-realizations, together realizations, just in general.
All of the above.
All ABC, I don't even think there was a C. But we don't want to do anything other than produce that. We don't want to give you anything other than that, because there's a connectedness in knowing that there are other people out there who think like you do, who respond like you do, and have questions that maybe they aren't brave enough to ask their significant other. Maybe it's scary to sit down and do this. But the worst you can do is try, right? And you don't have to put it on YouTube. You don't have to put it out there for the world to see.
That actually leads me to my kind of ending statement here, which is kind of y'all's homework. I highly recommend, and the reason why Lara and I can sit down and do this is pretty much whenever we first started doing the podcast, we said, this gives us an opportunity without our phones, without any distractions, without anything except for, aside from she and I, to sit down and have discussions and hard talk. So I recommend for you guys to put the phones down, turn the TVs off. We are all so distracted in this world. I'm guilty of doom scrolling for sure. So put those aside. If that means put your phone on the kitchen counter and go for a walk, go do that and have conversations while you're talking. That's always a really good way to do it. Lara and I, we don't do it as often as we used to, but we sure used to go on a lot of walks and have conversations. But I recommend just putting the phone down, go on a walk, have some conversations. It doesn't have to be hard conversations. It doesn't have to be self-realizations or anything like that. It could be talking about whatever y'all's interests are, like Beyblades.
Rodeos.
Oh my god!
And
get the heck out of here with this sheep riding thing.
As soon as the camera turns off, I'm going to be looking at sheep rodeos.
I think so.
Well, everybody has that.
So is there any finishing thoughts here for you?
I just am really appreciative of being able to do this. And thank you for teaching me about this, for introducing me to being able to document this. I always thought it was so cheesy, like people putting cameras in front of themselves and having this, but the world has obviously come to a place where we are looking for community and we're looking for help. And I have Googled so many topics so many times, and if I just had a place where I could go where somebody like me, whatever that means, some odd ones, right? I could find some odd people like me that maybe could just relate. And blended families are another thing that's really hard to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, thank them, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this a lot throughout the years of recording. I just wanted to leave something for our grandkids to be able to come back and see who we were at, 20s, 30s, 40s, going and so on and so forth.
Papa was great then, and he's great now.
Yeah. So, I don't know if this part got cut from the video earlier, but I did want to talk about embarrassing moments kind of on camera and stuff like that. I can't remember the context of why I said it, but yeah, there was one time where Larry and I were streaming, and this is all bonus content, by the way. There's one time that Larry and I were streaming, I think it was Elden Rings, and this was back whenever we were streaming in the living room, and you were so tired, like you would just fall asleep while I was streaming all the time. But I was like, all right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Toodaloo, bye-bye, all this different stuff that I say. And I went to go turn the cameras off and didn't turn them off properly, and fell asleep in the chair. And we were just both sleeping there for a little bit. I don't know, it was probably 5 minutes.
That's too many minutes.
And then there was another time that I forgot to turn the cameras off. Like, I pressed the button. I definitively pressed the button. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to play with my camera. I got a brand new camera at the time. And so I was playing around with that, and somebody commented, and luckily I had notifications on so I could hear it. And somebody's like, yeah, it just sounds like a bunch of clicking and different chimes on some kind of device or something. And I was like, oh crap, thanks, and ended the stream. But it's so embarrassing, so freaking embarrassing. It could be worse. There's people that's been caught doing other things on stream after they thought it was off.
Google it, look it up.
Yeah. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was really good, insightful, therapeutic.
Nothing to do
That's all
with
right.
the five love languages.
Yeah.
We'll be back. We'll be back in the next episode with that.
Yeah,
And can I give them a little sneak peek of what's to come?
Sure.
So we are going to finish up the general notes from the Great Bjorn. I wanted to have a curtain with you like Oz. And we're going to talk a little bit about demand versus request.
Perfect. All right, sounds good. All right, everybody. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that other stuff that is important to the algorithm. Yeah, the not bell thing. And we'll see you in the next one.